how is it possible that the majority of people go through public schools and graduate at 18 years old not knowing the basics about health and healthy living? Because you would think if you were putting together a school, one of the things you would want to do for your students is give them the gift of healthy living, because the gift of healthy living in a lot of ways is the gift that has the potential to extend a lifetime and really improve the quality of a lifetime. And what I found in investigating the public school system is part of the reason they don't teach the truth about the food system is because if they did, it would shine a light on many of the other lies that are taught in public schools. So let's take a look at why that is and what that looks like. And it starts with the basics, in that public schools aren't teaching young people to eat organic, and they're not teaching them to look out for GMO foods or lab-grown meat or many of the disgusting things that we've seen come onto the market in recent years, to the point where young people will eat McDonald's, they'll eat Burger King, and they don't really think twice about it because it's culturally been normalized within the school system. But when you look a little bit closer, it makes sense, because government schools are going to teach government science. That is par for the course. It makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. And when you look at the food pyramid, which is what they teach in public school, well, that's a government recommendation. But what they don't teach is about the whistleblowers who have exposed the problem with the food pyramid. So one of the head scientists on the original food pyramid project all the way back in 1977 was Louise Light. And after the food pyramid was released, she came out as a whistleblower. And what she revealed was that the initial recommendations made by the scientists who were hired by the government were pretty much all ignored and replaced after the food industry had lobbied the politicians and convinced them that the food pyramid had to be changed because it was going to be bad for their bottom line. And this isn't the fanciest way to do this, but if you want to know more about that, you could check out her book, What to Eat, in which she writes about her experience working on the food pyramid and why the recommendations were ultimately changed. But what really dawned on me about the entire thing is that if they taught the truth about the food pyramid in school, young people would come to the conclusion, well, if food is a lie, what else is a lie? And the school system can't have that. In fact, that takes me to a pretty interesting part of my own journey, because I went to college to study history and to become a history teacher. And I remember being in my sophomore or junior year of college, and I was taking a course in which the concept of genetically modified foods was introduced to me for the first time. And in this course, they talked about overpopulation and how difficult it was to feed all of the people on Earth, and that genetically modified foods and crops and seeds were pretty much the greatest gift to the world, which is one perspective. But later on, as I got older and started to learn about the world, and I learned about all of the lawsuits that Bayer Monsanto has been involved in, the gigantic hundreds of millions of dollars worth of settlements, and they didn't teach any of that. Within the school system, we were taught that GMOs are the best thing, and they didn't want you looking at anything else. And the reason for that is the food industry, big agriculture, and everything that goes around it is intertwined with the government. And we can really see that by looking at the food pyramid. And as I continued my studies into the world, it was actually the food system that was behind the start of my awakening, because my sister had come up to me, and at the time she told me that she was a vegan. Today she's actually not, and she says that that diet had some negative ramifications with her health. But at the time she was a vegan, and I thought it was weird. I had never heard of that at the time. And I said, you know what? I respect my sister. I'll look into some of the things that she's saying. And what I found was a lot of the things she was saying about the food industry were in fact accurate. And I asked that question, well, if everything I learned about food is a lie, then what else is a lie? And I started to look to the people who were talking about the food industry, saying, hey, there's something wrong here. And then I started looking into the other things that they were saying, and that led me down the path to what became my great awakening. And I do wonder if the people in charge of the school system are worried that if young people understood that there are fundamental issues, conspiracies, mind you, related to the food industry, then those young people would start to question, hey, what else is a lie? But of course, pointing out problems is one thing, but finding solutions is something else entirely. And the question is, what can we do as parents to make sure that our children understand healthy living? And I think it starts with culture and getting your kids with their hands in the dirt from as young an age as possible. Grow food, cook food, study herbs, read ingredient list, do health swap series, and really establish the culture, the habits of a healthy lifestyle. The first unit study I ever made for the members of Classiclearner, for the members of Homeschools Connected, was actually a 46-week nature unit study that I built out. And we do this together every year, us and our students, and we plant seeds in the ground, we grow the food all the way up to harvest, and we even host a business event at the end of each season. But the idea is to really connect young people to where their food comes from, because that's so important. And then in that same spirit, the next thing that we love to do is get those kids in the kitchen and really have them understand what food is and how if you nurture it, it will nurture you. And my wife, Mrs. Classiclearner, from semester to semester, she has taught all of these different live cooking classes that we've done, and they've been a big hit. But the idea is to establish that culture of being connected to your food. So get your kids growing food, cooking, studying herbs, reading ingredient lists, doing health swap series. And when I say doing health swap series, what I mean by that is have your children make organic at-home detergent. Have them make organic at-home soap. Teach them how to make organic at-home marshmallows and graham crackers and Reese's peanut butter cups. We can teach our children how to make healthy versions of the unhealthy things that so many people eat. And by doing that, we show them how much we love them. We show them how much we care for them, because they understand that we as their parents are really going out of our way to try to make sure that they know how to live a healthy lifestyle. And of course, teaching someone that or making them good food is such an amazing form of love, and it's something that we can all share with our kids. And another thing you can do is make a chart like this. Very simple. Ingredient on one side, side effects on the other. And 12 times a year, which might sound like a lot, but it's really not, because once a month you take your child to the grocery store, go down the cereal aisle or any aisle, and have them choose an ingredient on the back of a box. Go home and research that ingredient plus side effects and hang that on the fridge. And by the end of 1 year, they will not only understand how to read ingredient labels, but they'll also understand why you are so adamant about eating organic, eating non-GMO, and practicing a healthy lifestyle. These are the little things that we can do that go a long way with teaching young people how to live that healthy life that we all want for our kids. Because ultimately, we want them staying away from the bad stuff, but in order to do that, we have to teach them why the recommendations most people are getting aren't great recommendations, and then we can establish that culture of healthy living. And if we do that, that's something they should carry with them throughout the rest of their lives. So I hope you value these recommendations. These are all things that you could do on your own. And as always, you could do it on your own, but if you want help with it, this is what I love to help families with. I love to help moms and dads and children with learning how to live a healthy lifestyle and really giving people the resources and the guidance to help young people live free and independent lives. www.classiclearner.com. And don't forget to read Cubs to Bears books. Classiclearner.com.